Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Starcast. We're here to round up the weekend, the games that have already taken place, to talk about what's going on at our club at Manchester United and some new signings that have come into the Premier League and how they've been doing. And that's about it. So we've got Priyan and Rishi here. You've already heard Priyan and my views on what happened in the game and also some post-match reactions. The links are in the description if you want to know more about that. But Rishi, what do you think of the game? And more than that, what do you think about the morale and the environment of the club right
Prasham, the topics I want to bring up to you are very personal to me. The first thing is I completely agree with you. This is not the United we remember, which is why I am of the opinion that it's about time we change the name of this club. We no longer deserve to carry the tag of Manchester United. We have forgotten the heritage, the purpose, and the soul of this club. We have none of that. We are just corporate club ownership now. That's all we are. We're just a ragtag. It's like an iPhone that comes out every year. Every year we go through a transfer saga where we sign one player, become some big corporate nonsense, and again go back to the same nonsense. These players, this club doesn't deserve the heritage, the culture, the history, the passion, and the values that Manchester United stood for. This is not anything like Manchester United, and this club should immediately liquidate and change the name to something else because they are staining our history. I used to always have a team where I'd make my kids support this beautiful club as well. But what will I show them now? A history of 100 years ago where once upon a time we were great and we had values and culture and heritage. None of us understand what Manchester United is. All of these players only care about the paycheck. These guys have no goals, no values, no passion, no long-term plans. They are only here for the contract, that juice contract that they get with those free clothes and all that they keep getting from Adidas and the free cars from Chevrolet. That's it. None of these players actually care about winning anything. They don't care about their own careers. They have no desires, nothing. And I am stating this explicitly because it's been 7 years, Prasham, and we've seen nothing change. Let's face it, we thought at the end of last season there was going to be some difference. And, we were seeing a little difference in our play, even in some of the players' attitudes, but absolutely horrible. I heard you and Abby talk well, and Abby said a perfect thing where he was optimistic at the start of the season, which I too was. But when you see this again, you can write it off as a one-off thing if it was a one-off thing. But when you see it again, especially at the start of the season, you can clearly see the fault lines. You can clearly see the fact that our mentality was just paper over cracks. There were always cracks in the glass. And this Castro has to put Lincoln down, wearing you that before they wipe out our heritage and our history, they should absolutely change everything. They need to change the name of the club, absolutely disassociate themselves with what Manchester United was, because this is not it.
Right. I mean, I think Rishi has just added, summed up to everything that we've been saying in the last 24 hours to 40 hours. But this is what the problem is, we get hope, we get Champions League football, and then we go back to Europa, then we sign someone, we get Champions League football, then we go back to Europa. So like Rishi said, we're
I should
just a
sign
corporate
someone.
entity. We don't
We
care.
signed
It's a
one
temporary.
player.
It's very temporary. It's a 1 year plan also. It's a 1 year thing. I now this year they've earned the money last year because of Champions League. Now wherever we finish, if we finish top 4, it's amazing for the owners. If we don't finish top 4, doesn't matter. You put in some money again, and that's it. That's the only.
Guys, but let's be honest, we've not even signed any players. Prasham, you yourself said it, teams around us are moving forward like anything. Yeah, these guys aren't worried about anything. They're expanding their team. They have so much faith in the future that they're willing to go all out right now. Our team, you can see our team has no faith in the future, because if we did have any faith in the future and in this team, we would have gone all out, spent all the money we need to on I've even forgot his name, man. What's his name, bro?
Jadon Sancho.
Sancho. Yeah, we would have shelled out for Grealish. We would have gone absolutely insane.
Sancho has
But you
become
can
such a.
clearly see that the management themselves have no faith in this club.
Sancho's
You know-
become
you
a
know-
sort of indication of how bad the state is at Manchester United right now. It's not a player anymore. It's just a sort of thing that's happened throughout, I think, 18 months we've been interested in Sancho, and it's become an indication of how pathetic things are at United right now. We've been,
You
and
know,
just for a fact, consider if he does come in also before the end of the season, Sancho has become a figure now that everyone feels that he's going to come and
he's
revolutionize
set
the
up to
squad.
fail.
Yeah, I mean, there's going
Yeah,
to be so
I
much
agree with you,
expectations
Priyank.
out of him, and it's not going to be possible. And then again, that's 120 million down the drain, and it's just sad.
You know what,
And
Rishi? You know what, Rishi?
Prashant,
Rishi? No, you know what Rishi said
yeah,
about
go ahead.
it's so late and just like we don't do anything, it's already too late. And I think one of the comments, I don't remember by whom on our last video, was that you need to wake up and smell the coffee. I think it's past that. It's way past.
Yeah,
We're way past
man.
the point.
Yeah.
To
But like
draw an
Rishi,
analogy,
yeah, go on, Rishi.
I just like to draw an analogy, Prashant. We are the Ferrari of Manchester United. Once upon a time, we used to be the most revered and feared team out there. We used to have so much history, heritage, culture, everything was really going in our favor. But we flew too close to the sun, man. We flew too close to the sun. And I believe fans are to blame for this. I think we are just too, stern to let go of what United was and what United is. I think we also need to accept that we can no longer expect this team to be the United of the old guys. Let's face it, this is not that. This is what I'm saying, that this club has no connection with the old United at all whatsoever. Not in the management, not in the players, not even in the values, man. The club has become so commercial that it's absolutely disgusting to watch.
Yeah, but it's a great point that Rishi brought up, that everyone around us is moving forward. That's what I want to bring up in terms of what the Premier League was like and what the weekend has been like. Everton is the first team I want to touch up on. Look at the signings that Priyan, that if you
Yeah,
saw that game,
they've transformed their midfield, dude. They've
yeah,
they've they have James Rodriguez, and he's played so well. They've got Doucouré.
James Rodriguez has come into the Premier League like he went to the 2014
Yeah,
World Cup. He's just
yeah,
hits the ground running.
yeah. And I don't think the problem at Madrid was he wasn't played. I don't know what the thing was with Zidane, but he never played. But now he's come in and he's hit the ground running. Look at Doucouré,
Yeah.
Allen, and all these three signings. They got three midfielders and pushed them into the team and revolutionized the team. They're playing so well. Dominic Calvert-Lewin has scored a hat trick. Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It's just
Also,
you can see the
Richarlison.
ambition.
I want
It's
to
just you
add a
can see
point
the
over here.
ambition.
Just, Prashant, I just want to add a small point over here. One is that to add to the fact that United have become so commercialized, we're so desperate to go for the signing that we miss out on these misfit players. You know what I mean by misfit players? The James Rodriguez, who under the previous manager was absolutely not favored, but is absolute quality. Look at Sane. Like how Priyan had mentioned in the group, we should have bid for him, regardless of whether City would have sold him to us or no. He is a player that is going to waste if we are not applying for him. You know what I mean? So this is why I'm saying the club has become so commercialized that
Look
if
at
it's not a big
Thiago.
signing, United won't
Thiago.
even bother
If
with it.
Thiago's on the market, if I am United, I bid for him. I don't care if I have 20 players in his position. If Thiago's on the market for 30 million, I bid for him. It's a no-brainer, according to me at least. I don't know what you guys feel about it. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree with you, Priyan. I completely agree with you. It's time that United start playing it like FIFA manager. Because if you bid for 10 players, you're likely to get 3 players at least,
Yeah.
Guys, you'll raise very valid points, but just to touch up on that game as well. I think another signing in West Brom, Matthias Pereira scored a brilliant free kick as well. So it's essentially it's every team signing does something, and that was a great game to watch though. Like Everton absolutely destroyed them after West Brom took the early lead, came back. So that was a good game to watch. They did well. I mean, the Everton looked like a very strong contender for top six, maybe even pushing for top four. But yet, like I'm not convinced of their defense. I'm not convinced with Pickford, and I think that was shown a little bit in the last game. But moving on from them, the other team I want to talk about is Jose Mourinho's Tottenham Hotspur. Today, going 1-0 down and then pulling all stops out and absolutely
You
destroying
give you
Southampton.
give Jose the players he needs, and you see the wonders he does. I think we didn't do that with him.
And he's got one.
We didn't do that with him. I mean, we tried that for one season and we won the Europa. We got second place, and we didn't do that with him. We didn't trust him, and yeah, I think he's going to do wonders with Spurs now.
Right.
You know,
But that
people
game,
laughed
Priyan,
at Mourinho when he said second place was his greatest season.
I can understand it right now.
But
now,
you can understand why he's that now.
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
just imagine how bad things were.
exactly.
But guys, the other thing is that like the way Son and Kane are playing, and like now you add the likes of Gareth Bale and Reguilon to this team. Like imagine Son on the left, Bale on the right, and Harry Kane up top. That is a front three to fear. That
Yeah.
front three has got pace, it's got goals, it's got assists, and all around.
Quality.
It's
and
not
all quality and
today Harry
pure
Kane got
quality.
4 assists.
Yeah, it's pure quality.
4 assists.
It's pure
Not
quality.
to forget, they've got to work rate. All these players put in the effort to run up down. Kane, bro, for as much I think Kane is a Peter Crouch, he's always coming to collect the ball and he's always moving with the ball.
No, Harry Kane is, I mean, I know both of you all disagree with me, but he is the best striker in the league by far. There's nobody near Harry Kane, and he showed that today. 4 assists. He didn't, he 2 goals disallowed, 4 assists, and a goal that he eventually scored. I mean, if Harry Kane is sharp, if Harry Kane is on fire, he's unstoppable. And this Tottenham Hotspur,
and even the goals they scored, it was so beautiful. Kane didn't even have to look where Son was. He got the ball and he just played it across through him, and he knew
Exactly.
Son was running. It's just the connection is so good. You can see that they've worked on this.
Exactly. And that is what pains me. That is what pains me, that these teams are moving forward, man. These teams are moving forward. The other thing Spurs are going to do with this Reguilon signing, the other thing that it does with Bale, is they'll also tighten up defensively now. So I don't know. I don't see that why, again, we keep going back to signings and we keep going back to United. We don't want to do that. We want to discuss the games. Like Son had a great performance, 4 goals. DCL scored a hat-trick. Kane was great. But it's sort of hard to take your mind off the game of United and Palace, because that was a dreadful game. Out of all the games this weekend, that was a very bad performance from Man United. No other team has performed that badly this weekend. Even West Brom against Everton were better. Fulham against Leeds, that was a cracking game. And United just didn't show up. Just from that perspective as well, we didn't show up. These teams are at least showing up. And
Look at
Crystal
Leeds
Palace
also.
have
Leeds, the intensity they play with. I agree, they conceded 3 and 4 goals. But they look at the way they play, look at the effort they put in. And I didn't see half of that. I'm telling you right now, if this squad plays Leeds, they're going to run us over. Just by the intensity.
Absolutely.
Half the intensity.
That game is lost because Bielsa is just too good for us. But the problem with the game that Leeds played, like I was quite actually impressed even more than the Liverpool game at because it's easy to go to a team like Liverpool and play the way you do, whatever the way you want to play, and get the result. It's easy, not get the result doesn't matter. You have nothing to lose. But against the Fulham team, if they want to stay in the league and they want to compete, they had to beat them. And yet they didn't change their style of play. They just played the way they play. And I think that is quite impressive, and Bielsa and the team, they deserve credit for it. Bamford looks like a very good player. Calvin Phillips, who I really rate very highly, is a great player. I think he's a fantastic player. So I think Leeds are very good signs there. And Crystal Palace are now 2-2. Crystal Palace have won 2 games in a row.
Yeah. I think, but respect to them, they've played really well. And it's not that Zaha had a very good game. We made him look very good, but Crystal Palace, all due respect, they have played very well. And they have been playing well.
Yeah.
Even the other game, which they beat Southampton, they won it with, I think, 29% possession. And I don't think it's a problem, because if you're getting the result, it's not a problem. And they tried to do the same with us. They got the early goal and they sat back. And their defense looks solid right now. Kouyaté, he wasn't letting anything come.
Even though they're missing
Exactly.
2 or 3 of their
Exactly. It's a makeshift defense, but even then, they look so solid at the back.
But Priyan, this is what Rishi, I'm going to ask you also. It's about the organization, isn't it? It's about how you're coached.
I agree.
Yeah. Prashant, that's exactly what I want to come in with was, Priyan, I don't think it was that great a performance from Crystal Palace. What I think more was a well executed plan. They knew exactly where to hit United.
Yeah.
And, they didn't need extraordinary talent to do that. They just needed 2 off chances and just absolute effort to
Pace
pull it
upfront.
off. It like you can fix up a very fancy contraption to open a door, but at the end of the day, you can push through that door as well. And that's precisely what Crystal Palace did. They just came up with a simple strategy, just simply break through the door. Where United were going to try to do some meticulous tiki-taka passing and some glorious
Horizontal
ping and
passing.
all on the pitch.
Fosu Mensah to Lindelof to
Crystal Palace,
Maguire to Lindelof to Fosu Mensah. It's the
yeah,
only passing I've seen.
exactly. Some beautiful, beautiful tiki-taka over there. Yeah, Crystal Palace knew their plan. The players knew what they had to do, and the players lived up to it. And they were fired up for it. They knew that this is what I have to do. Like, this is simply what I have to do, so I'll do it. Our players are
what do
like
we
like cranky babes. Yeah, go ahead, Prashant.
what do we no, I was saying that, what do we make of, because this is another game I wanted to talk about, is Arsenal against West Ham. They didn't look that good, and they yet got the victory. They yet got the victory on the board. You need scrappy results, and they got it. They got it over the line. There's not much to talk about in that goal, apart from the one key incident, which was Gabriel's handball. So, what do we think about that, as opposed to Lindelof's handball, and as opposed to Dorothy's handball today, that in the Spurs game that happened? What do we think about those three sort of situations? Is there more consistency with VAR this season, or is it the same old, same old?
I think I like this idea of the referee being allowed to go and check the screen. I think it's much better than the earlier last season's whatever they did with VAR. I think it makes it much more consistent. I feel, and it's also sort of a time saver. Not you don't waste time in the places you don't need to waste time, and if there is something which, and it's also it brings back the importance of the on-field referee. I think that should matter in football. You can't keep going to the third umpire, the VAR every time, and yeah, I think it's more consistent this time.
It's adding more legitimacy as well, right? When the on-field referee is going and checking.
Exactly.
Yeah, Rishi.
Yeah, Prasham, I completely agree with Priyan. But I'd just like to add an anecdote that I think will help the game in the future, which is I think we need to define the rules much better, especially rules such as handball or handling of the ball. Because in some cases, the handball is given when there's an explicit, outreach for the, like I'm intentionally trying to handle the ball with my hand. And in some cases, it's like my back is turned, everything is turned. I can't even see the ball, and it hits my hand, and it's a handball.
Yeah.
So I think that's where defining the rules explicitly is to help not only the referees but the players understand as well. Because we saw what happened with Lindelof yesterday. I think it was a penalty in fairness, but I think we could have debated about it. That's my opinion. That's completely my
So
opinion.
that
and
actually, my opinion
I
on this is
understand
that
if
because
people
the
agree with
rules
me.
say it was a
And
penalty.
second is one foot on the. Yeah, that's my question, right? That is it because in that case the referee thought it was a penalty, or is it because according to the rules that's 100% a penalty?
Yeah, so that
That's
is
my
my argument, that
question.
because the rules
Second,
say it is a penalty, the Lindelof is a penalty and a Dorothy one is a penalty. But in my footballing logic, I don't think that either of those are penalties.
that's precisely what I'm trying to say, right, Prashant? I think it makes more sense if there is more ownership from teams in making the rules as well. Where they discuss that. Listen, guys, this rule doesn't make sense. It
But
can't
then,
be
Rishi, my
this, or it
question to
should
you
be
is,
like this sort of thing.
but Rishi, then my
Right
question
now,
to you is, then how do you have consistency?
yeah, Prashant, that's what I'm saying. When the definition is fixed, when the definition is that there is a 100% intention to touch the ball, yeah, or whether referee can clearly make out an intention to touch the ball, let's give it as a handball. Now, this is where the nuances will come in, where teams will be like, okay, how are we to gauge 100%, intention? And that's where the experts come in, right? That's where people, referees of the old, statisticians, heads of the teams, managers, they come and I think from my experience, this is what is. And ultimately, you settle on a common agreement which all agree upon. And then that should be completely applied everywhere. And second thing is, while I agree with Priyan that the new implementation of VAR has been amazing, I don't think it need to be applied in that Chelsea red card today. I mean, that was like 100% obvious that was a red.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit like cricket now, that once you have for the run out, you have the third umpire, you always go to the third umpire. Now whatever decision is there, you always go to VAR. I think it's a little bit like that.
Yep.
So, but moving on from Arsenal's game, what is the sort of takeaway from this weekend apart from Man United? Which team did y'all think was looking the scariest, or which team do you think will threaten us the most? Before we get to, of course, the key fixture of the weekend in Liverpool and Chelsea, which out of the other fixtures, which fixtures did y'all think was the most threatening? Which team looks the best?
You said Liverpool. I think we've been discounting Liverpool in all our previous videos. We've been saying that they won't sustain it, but they've started.
No, but Priyan, just a caveat to that, we've been saying that before they signed Thiago
Yeah,
and Jota.
exactly. They've gone out and signed Thiago. They've got Jota,
Exactly.
and they've brilliant additions to the team, man. Thiago.
You know what the interesting thing is, Priyan? Thiago doesn't walk into this team in every game.
Exactly.
That's the
And that's the
when you
scary
need
part, actually. That's how
when you
good
need
they
a
are.
goal, I think Wijnaldum is yet their best player.
That's how good they are. That's how good they are.
Yeah, if it were up to me, Jordan Henderson wouldn't start and Thiago would start, because I yet believe very strongly that Jordan Henderson is their weakest link in midfield. And I mean, it's a joke that he won Players of the Year, because like he was at least the sixth or seventh most important player in that Liverpool team. If you go to Klopp tomorrow and say that okay, there is one player you can't have, I don't think the first player is going to be like, oh, I need Jordan Henderson. There is Salah, there is Mane, there is Alisson, there's Van Dijk, there's
I
Robertson and
think, but
Arnold.
we saw that period. I think in Jan where Liverpool, they've played without Van Dijk, they've played without Alisson, but the one player which hurt them the most was Henderson. I think they lost to Watford. I think 3-1. Yeah, so I think that period they were very shaky, and that was without Henderson.
But what do we make of today's game, Priyan? How did you think Liverpool basically, you think, just outclassed them? Like Chelsea's
I
were
think the red card makes a difference, because if you're playing a team like Liverpool, I think Glenn Johnson said that even if you're playing with 11 men, it's difficult to play against Liverpool. 10 men makes it just too
But
hard.
Priyan, were they actually 10 men with Kepa? Can you count that the 10 men were playing for Chelsea? Rishi, what do you think? Another mistake. Every game, Kepa makes a mistake. It's almost like it's a given. It's like it's literally like if the game starts, you know at some point Kepa is going to mess it up.
He's reaching the glorious Karius level. He's reaching there.
Shout out to my friend Tanay. No, shout out to my friend Tanay, who had once touted Kepa as being the best keeper in the world.
He's
Yeah,
slowly
those
reaching
times when
that.
people were talking about, as United fans, we should never complain about goalkeepers. The Chelsea fans. That's one place that we can't. But you know what I thought about today's game, Priyan? I actually disagree with you. I know the red card made a difference. Of course it did. Obviously, when you're playing with 10 men, but I don't think that even if Chelsea had 11 men, did they ever look sort of threatening? Like
Yeah.
Kai Havertz, has he played 2 games, or like he's just been on the team
Yeah, I
sheet? I
think
haven't seen him do.
he's just been there drifting around. I don't know what position he plays. I don't know what his role is in the team. I mean, I get it. It's just very new, and they've not had time to maybe train together, and it's still a new team. And a lot of players to come in also. They have Thiago Silva waiting on the bench, Ziyech waiting on the bench. Pulisic is still injured. Who else? Chilwell is still to come. So it's a
From all these players, Priyan, I only think that the biggest miss is Pulisic and Ben Chilwell, because Thiago Silva I'm not very scared of, but go on.
Yeah, I think so. That's what these players are still to come in. So, and it's still early days. I think for the team to sort of just get on. We never expected them to just get on with playing very good football, I guess. So I think it'll take time, but so all I can say is we can't discount them yet. They might,
No, I have
might
already
be.
discounted them.
I still
Because
think Pulisic
no,
is
go
a
on.
very good player. Werner looked really good, and however, like he was playing without too much support, but he looked really good today. He was
Yeah.
making some good runs. He won the penalty second game in a row, which obviously Jorginho, Alisson saved it.
But Priya, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. They have reinforced in every position that there is, but they've left the most important position without any reinforcement.
Yeah,
That is Frank Lampard's position. He is not good enough. He is the one that limits this team. he is the one that will, because that's I'm going to bring Rishi in on this because this is his favorite subject. What I feel today is Klopp went out there and said, I'm not going to beat them 5 or 6 nil. I'm not going to let them play football at all, and I'm going to show Lampard with all the talk that Lampard does in the press. I mean, I'm just going to show him that you have a long way to go as a manager, and just know your place. It was a tactical, like Liverpool didn't lose their shape even once in that entire game, and in my view, they absolutely tactically just dominated. They stifled Chelsea, and they absolutely dominated them.
Yeah, Prashant, what I'm going to tell you is, in my opinion, I think Chelsea grew way too fast, and they're just setting themselves up for a disappointment. There's going to be so much expectations from them, especially for a young manager, Old Pard, that they are setting themselves up to crash and burn, because the players have signed, anything less than a big fee is going to be absolutely detrimental to this team. And Shitpard has no clue to handle this because he's never done it before. And Klopp absolutely gave him a beating, telling him that, listen, you could have signed all these players, but know your place. Yeah. Know where you belong and get ready for the fire.
Yeah, I think that's a good note to end this episode of the Starcast on. I think we've gone over everything that we wanted to. I mean, we've discussed Manchester United at length, and that discussion can keep going on and on and on. And you guys watching this know the problem. We know the problem. Everyone knows the problem. It's like Ed Woodward and the Glazers are wearing noise cancelling earphones 24/7, and they don't know what is happening, and they're roaming around with blindfolds, and they can't see what's wrong. So there's not much more to say. The other teams have progressed. The other teams are doing well. And it was a good week in the Premier League from a neutral's perspective. A lot of goals, a lot of entertainment, a lot of excitement. So let's see what, of course, the Leicester game and the City game is yet left. Pep Guardiola has yet to play his first game this season. So let's see what happens. Thanks for joining us, guys. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you all soon with much more content.